Hi everyone. Thank you for having us here. It's my first time in Bengaluru, definitely not my last, and so far it's been amazing. I would like to thank all the previous presenters as well. I think there was a lot of quality here. It's a pleasure to see this. I will try to be quick because I know you're hungry. I know I am. And the goal will be to give you as much as possible take-home experience. I'll explain more in a second. So today we're going to talk about what we call the last mile, but some people get confused. We're not in transportation here. I'm not going to do a delivery. But we're going to talk about third-party contractors, and you will see it's critical, and especially here in India as well. I won't talk too much about me. Let's just say that there is a reason why I have gray hair. I've been in this game way too long, way more than I care to say. Let's just say I started hiking in the 90s. I think that will place the ball at the right place. Typically, I was a deep security person, programming, kernel, network, and I moved my way up to CISO. So you have several kinds of CISOs. You have CISOs that are technical, CISOs that are management. I was more like the technical kind. So, you're no strangers to the world of outsourcing. India is a big destination, but I just wanted to show you just how big an opportunity or a problem it is. This is basically in all these categories of companies, the percentage of people who use outsourcing. So you see on the business side, you have at least roughly more than 50% of all the companies that do business that do outsourcing. And on the more specific IT side, way more than that even. Everybody outsources their IT or parts of it. The interesting bits are the statistics at the bottom. Outsourcing is here to stay. 46% plan to increase. This is huge. All of you here outsource. I don't need to check. When you're a startup, you do. You're not going to create your own cloud. You're not going to create your own EDR or antivirus unless that is your business. So it's here to stay. And only 10+% are reducing this. And in my experience, typically, this happens when a company is mature enough that they insource. One thing you have to know as well between outsourcing and insourcing is that it's a cycle. Like I said, I'm in this game long enough. And you have cycles of let's outsource, let's outsource, let's outsource. And the cycle turns back to let's insource, let's insource, let's insource. Where are we in this cycle right now? I do not know, because it changed drastically about 5 years ago, and the cycle has been messed up a little bit. So I can't tell you, but it's here to stay, at least for the next few years. The last bottom right is interesting. Basically, all the huge company outsource. Now, I talk in terms of revenue here because that's the only stats I've seen, but it's equivalent to spending. If somebody makes revenue, it means somebody spent. So you can read this as the spent on in IT specifically on outsourcing. It's interesting to say that application outsourcing is about the same. You see the middle blue one. What really is growing is the administration outsourcing, all the rest of your kind of software. The top software destination for outsourcing, obviously, India, but not only. I forgot to say I'm from Singapore. I've been there 24 years, so I would be more in the SEA category. But Eastern Europe, typically also very big, and they do slightly different things as well. The Philippines, sorry, small problem on the slides, they do call center and stuff like this as well. This is just to stress the importance about what I will talk about later. So what's the problem with outsourcing typically? To simplify, I would say that the problem with outsourcing is a problem of end-user computing. You have end users that have laptops or devices that access your data, your assets, your applications. and they're not secure, or you do not know if they are secure, you have zero visibility. And you cannot, like, as well we've seen with the previous speakers, you cannot secure what you do not know. And because those are external companies, it's difficult to detect them. If I outsource to your company some of my software development, you tell me, yeah, you put 20 guys on it, but maybe you put 500 guys, I don't know. I don't know what they're running on their laptop. I don't know if you secured it or not. And therefore, there is a risk for malware, obviously. So about 60 to 70% of data breaches started with a subcontractor. Now, if you're a CISO, and I was twice in large companies, this is very, very scary. So this is something you want to take care of. And how did we used to take care of it in the past? We used to do a contract. So I outsource to your company. I'll make it part of the contract. You need to secure. You need to give me a right of audit. You need to give me all the usual stuff. But honestly, I have zero time to check. Or my team of SecOps guys have zero time to check as well if the outsource company has done what they said they would do in that contract. And so, of course, that could lead as well to data leaks. You've seen so many data leaks recently. So you always think about data leak as, oh, you know, there was an Oracle port open, or an ODB, an NoSQL DB was misconfigured. Sure, of course. If this kind of problem happened in your company, you have a lot of work to do. But in my experience, in larger corporations, the issue is always the end user. Because applications and code is written by professionals. Are they security professionals? No. But do they know nothing in security? Absolutely not. They know a fair bit, so they pay attention. Whereas your end user, mileage will vary. You don't know. It could be somebody who never used a computer before, or it could be a genius in IT. So a lot of the problem can be either insider's threat, when the guy is malicious, I'm going to steal all your data and sell it on the black market. You'd be surprised how many times we've seen this in consulting. Or it's just non-malicious, one of the users is stupid, opened up or lost his laptop, and all your data was on it. This gives compliance challenges. So when you work in industries that are highly regulated, like banking, healthcare, and so on, you have to comply or close down. And you don't want your audit team to keep on harassing you and so on. And they are doing their job; they have to, right? But because it's outsourced, you have no idea, and again, that becomes a problem. And of course, complex networking. As soon as you need to give access to your data, to your app, to your processes, network come in play, and issues can arrive. So the current solutions. Plenty of them for so many years. Nothing new here. And this is why also it's interesting that we talk about this here. A lot of you are founders. A lot of you are going to make security company. A lot of you are going to make IT companies. If you can solve some of those problems, there is a big need for it. A very big need for it, as I've shown in the first few slides. So the typical one for companies who have money is VDI. Let's put some VDI. Everybody connect remotely. Done. Secure. So the problem with this is the cost is extremely expensive. During COVID, we've seen people with VDI crushed down to the floor. So all the banks in Singapore that were so proud to have VDI, oh, we're so secure. Well, the minute COVID hit, they didn't have enough capacity to add more users to their VDI, or they had money for the license, no problem. It's just that installation of VDI couldn't take more. Of course, as soon as you have a bad network, have you ever tried to code on a VDI? It's a nightmare. You type characters and you wait for a split second for it to appear. It's maddening. I don't know for you, but for me, it drives me crazy. A new in this category is the pixel pushing browser. I call this more a gimmick than anything. It's very similar to VDI, cheaper, but with less power than VDI, so it's somewhere in between. And of course, it's limited to web apps, so if that's what you have, why not? If it's affordable enough, why not? But typically, those guys sell the product very expensive. You have the solution of installing a mobile device management kind of agent on the third-party laptop. So let's say I outsource to company ABC, and I tell them, okay, as long as you install this particular agent from me, I'm admin on your machine, you do whatever you want, I have visibility, and so on. The problem is that you get immediate no. The user will say no. That will create friction. And a lot of people also are using their home machine, and the last thing they want is for you to be administrator on their machine. So they will just simply say no, you'll have a lot of user friction. The user will be paranoid, oh, are you reading my emails? The classic paranoia. And of course, when the cooperation starts like this, it's not on an equal footing, people are not motivated, and they won't work well. You have, of course, the good solution of corporate laptop. Let's do what we've been doing for 20 years, continue. Corporate laptops are good. The problem is that it's very expensive. So let's say every time I want to outsource to company ABC, I have to provide them laptops with the corporate image on it, fully configured, and so on. That gives me a lot of problems. First, I got CapEx and OpEx. As a CISO, I don't like those because I have to go to the CFO and tell him I need to spend more money again. And of course, it's slow deployment. If suddenly I outsource and the outsource company has, I don't know, 500, let's say, developers, I need to provide 500 laptops. Good luck with this. It takes about 3 months to get this kind of numbers and installed and so on. It's just too slow. And my favorite, which you would be surprised is the usual way. That's 80% of the people I've seen doing outsources do the last one. Is just put your hand on your ears, put your other hand on your eyes, and ignore the problem. When you can't see it, you can't hear it, there's no problem, right? So that's what I meant earlier on by people just doing it contractually. Sometimes they don't even have a contract to say so. And at the end of the day, they have no idea what's going on in the subcontractor. So that's a recipe for disaster, absolutely. A lot of the breaches that happen are the bottom right, ignoring the problem, period. Nothing was done. They didn't even try. As you've noticed, a lot of solutions, actually every solution has a cost, but those are particularly costly, except the ignoring the problem one, which at first seems like not a bad idea, but you know better. So the future solution, I'll give you what they need to be, because some of you will be creating those future solutions, I hope, and I hope I will have the pleasure to shake your hand if you become super famous, don't forget me. The solution needs to be scalable. We are in India, everything needs to scale. If it doesn't scale, don't even do it. It needs to be easy to use for the same reason. If it's not easy to use, people will not use it. There will be friction. It needs to be affordable, that's true of every product. And of course, it needs to be controlled by you. So if you are a bank, for example, and you make such a solution internally, you need to be able to control it on all your subcontractor. If you are a startup trying to create some of the solution, you need to give that control to the customers that will buy your product. And of course, the simple security questions that needs to be addressed, but you all know about security. So some of those that are coming up right now and are pretty common is the secure browser. So apparently it's very nice. You just have to install it on the machine. It has some basic zero trust agent to make sure you're up to date, that you have an AV or EDR and so on. The main pro is that it really understands the web. It understands the protocols involved, and it can act as an application firewall and so on. It can apply DLP as well. But it doesn't offer much more than that, right? And of course, it only works for web app. And well, I still can't find out what else it does. So to me, I'm sorry, this is quite gimmicky. I've been in this industry for a long time. Buzzword alert here. I'm still hoping they will do something interesting with that, because 90% of the apps you use are still web-based, I agree. But so far, I don't see much difference between a Chrome Plus policy and this. So what we push people to do these days, because everybody has good machines, is to do something very simple and easy to do on your own. Is to simply install to install a VM on third-party machines, right? The advantage is that the only thing that the user has to install is a hypervisor, which doesn't give administrative rights onto the user's machine, right? So less paranoia and so on. It's easy to do. And of course, you as the main company control completely all those VMs, right? The cons is that, yeah, you need 4 gig of RAM. If you have all the machines, it might be a challenge. But this is very cost effective and very quick. So I've seen some people trying to do something like this in COVID time, and they were pretty quick to get on their feet. Obviously, one of the cons here is that the hypervisor OS itself could still be rotten. You don't know. Maybe they never patched it or whatever. But then again, from the hypervisor to modify directly the image of your VM is difficult. It's quite difficult. But this is very cost effective and quick to set up if you are in dire needs. The third one would be a bit more difficult to do technically, because you don't have many tools to do it, is directly to do a live USB. So you have the full OS running on the, installed as a full OS on a USB key. Just plug it into the laptop or the desktop and boot from the USB. Does not touch anything on the machine itself. It runs at bare metal speed, so if you have a 2 gig very old machine, well, it will work. Nothing is touched on the machine, so no paranoia, no user friction. You're in peace. And of course, it's portable to machine, from machine to machine. I have my VM right here, sorry, my USB right here in the pocket. But the one cons, you will laugh, but it is a cons. You have to teach your user how to boot from USB. And trust me, sometimes it's a challenge, I know. But so far, it's still the best security price ratio. And you get the confidence of the user. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have the confidence of the user. When you do end-user computing, you do not want the end user to be irritated at you, otherwise they will find fake issues, they will complain, oh, this is too slow, even if it's not. They will put all the bad will in the word not to use if you don't make a special effort. The other cons as well is don't be a cheapskate. If you buy a $7 USB key, it's going to be slow. You get what you pay for. So this was just 3 methods, for example, to get you going in another COVID situation, or if suddenly you have to outsource to a lot of people one shot, to still keep complete control on the OS itself, on the workstation of your subcontractors. But this was just the beginning. This was just the basic tech. I still have nothing. You need to give control. You need still the full security stack. You still need the full automation stack. You still need all that you usually do on your end-user computing, right? This simply gives you control over the third-party machine, not the machine itself, but the environment on which they will be working for you. You certainly do not want to have yet another unmanaged device. So if you were to do it yourself, or if you were to create a product to do it, this is how you should do it based on experience. You start step by step. Do not start straight away with the gold medal you will not manage. You want to do internally or externally, if you provide this kind of services, minimum viable product, which will be start with full disk encryption. Like this, if your user somehow loses his laptop, it's just a CapEx issue. It's just $2,000 that is lost. OS hardening, I cannot insist enough on this. You have to harden your OS. Half the people I see, even on corporate laptop, don't have a hardened OS. And of course, it needs to be centrally managed. I told you, if you cannot scale it, you go big or you go home. It's as simple as this. Don't do it. You cannot do this kind of things manually. Your workforce, your third party will always be remote. They will be running around everywhere. It has to be centrally managed. Patch management, anyone, you know, it has to be done. CM integration, yeah, I could have put it in the silver medal. But at least do at least until patch management. Then you have something workable that's remotely managed, that give you confidence of what your third party are using to access your data, your crown jewels. Now, to make this better, of course, you know this. The minute you give administrator to a user, whether it's an internal user, whether it's a third-party user, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. It's like giving a gun to a 5-year-old. They certainly will mess it up. It's guaranteed. 20 plus years experience will guarantee you this. Ask anybody else here who's old enough, they will tell you the same. So never let the user be an administrator. And of course, for the full disk encryption is nice, but you need a key escrow system. You're all familiar with the problem last Friday. People who had an escrow system were able to somehow boot the Windows machine to fix it. Those who didn't were screwed. Integrate with the directory, AD, LDAP, and so on. And of course, make sure the applications are updated as well. You use an operating system, why? Simply to run applications. That's all that matters. And you run applications just to access data. So your apps need to update automatically. If they don't, you need to give admin user to the user, and you shoot yourself in the foot. The next step is to have an EDR, VPN, and firewall. So all of this is nice. If you have this, you're fairly mature. I would say you're already kind of Fortune 500 kind of stuff already. But we are security guys here. Let's go the full mile. Then you need to complete the job. Very seldom do I see, even in an internal laptop situation, so let alone in a third-party situation, software to let the user install. Every user has different needs. You're a developer, you need this. You're a graphic designer, you need that. Companies do golden image, and they do it poorly because it's difficult. I don't know what you use, I don't know what you use, I don't know what you use. Even if I ask you, I'll ask 3 of you. I didn't ask the 30,000 of you if there's 30,000 people. So let it be policy-based, and let it be self-service. The user can install only what they're allowed to install, nothing more, nothing less. Obviously, integrate with SIEM. That is critical, otherwise no visibility. It's great to protect your endpoints, but if you don't check, if you don't see, you don't know. DLP, always difficult to implement, but good to have. And of course, since you still don't want to give administrator to the user, you need to manage printer, BIOS updates, and so on. So you can see it's quite a lot of things that you have to do to get there. Hopefully, you're already on the bronze medal. If you're not, get there, because it's extremely important that you're at least on the bronze. One thing that I didn't talk here, this is just if you do it manually or even if you automate this, but the goal is really, really, really you have to automate. If you don't automate, you will never scale. You will never be able to do it properly without automation. To do all this, you can either use some commercial tools. There's plenty available, depending on your costs, depending of what you can do and your needs. And of course, don't hesitate as well to use open source tools. There are plenty of them. They are great. And very often, they're better than the commercial tools. But again, we're security guys. This is not enough. So if you've done the golden standard, congratulations to you. Now, think about this as well. You can throw some of those ideas as well. Those are actually easy to do, but they're pretty fun and very important, typically for developers, third-party developers. We've been asked very often, do you have periodic screenshots? It's a bit embarrassing for me, coming from Europe, to hear this. It shows the little faith that people have in employees or third-party contractors, but I get it, so yes. A normal one is monitoring application, which application I used. Very good to have as well. You need to do this. You need to be able to answer who is doing what, where, and when. And of course, internally, you should know the why. Browser configuration enforcement, actually, my bad. This should have been directly in the bronze first maturity stage. We said earlier on, 90% of the apps you use are web-based. Why are you not configuring the browser via a policy to limit what the user can and cannot do? A typical example is the browser extensions. again, in my experience, the most deadly. Do this if you're a CISO. Try it at home, try it in your company. Make a list of all the extensions your users are using. You're going to have a lot of fun. You will be surprised the kind of crap they run. If you work for Ministry of Defense or the police or stuff like this, or very, very high security standard company, you may want to implement remote snapshot of RAM and remote snapshot of hard disk in case you have to run investigation. There's a reason why I mentioned this, because we've had experience in this. We were asked to do something like this. Very important if you are developers, of course, Docker management. And a fun one, this is very fun and very easy to do actually, the Git repo configuration, management, and enforcement. If you're a developer or you recruit developers, they have, I don't know, I have 200 repos on my laptop, for example. Are they configured properly? Are they on the proper remote? So are they on the corporate GitHub or GitLab, or are they on the personal GitHub or GitLab? You need to check that, because a lot of users are not malicious, but they make stupid mistakes, and there's a very large numbers of flaws that came because a developer commit the code in the wrong place. This can be avoided very easily. I didn't mention earlier, it was written on the slide, but I forgot to say that AI cannot help you for any of this, except perhaps the last one. You will need at some point, all of you are looking at how to use AI more, how to leverage it. All of you are using APIs of existing AI companies, but do you really know which data is going to those companies? So you have to put like proxies and API gateways, including DLP, to make sure your customer data is not used to train the models or ask questions, where at least where it should not be, right? Otherwise, you're going to have a bad surprise. A lot of attacks on AI these days is to get information from other companies that were stupid enough to feed the AI information. So I think I made time. I don't know if we have time. I will release you early, otherwise I had something for question. We'll keep this. I wanted you to have some stuff to bring home. There is not enough resources here, but I didn't have the time. I can give you some more. But really, you can build some of this yourself. You can use resources here. I did not mention any commercial companies here. You know them all. Don't forget to look at open source. There's plenty of very high quality work. It's not always complete, but if you're tech savvy, you can cobble it up together and make some cool stuff. Obviously, you need to automate it, so I insisted on automation. And of course, browser policy, please do it. None of you are doing it today, the browser policy, and I don't know why. Don't let your user install any extensions or stuff like this. That's it for now. I don't know if we take question or not, otherwise I'll be outside. And thank you for having us.